Hello and welcome to episode 70 of the TRUUMAN Podcast, the podcast designed to create a generation of self-defined men. Today, I'm joined by Ash Metfield. Ash, it's an absolute pleasure. How are you?
I am great. Thank you, mate. It is good to be here. I'm excited.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to this one. There should be some interesting things that we can get into. But first and foremost, Ash, in your own words, what makes you a man?
What makes me a man? Great question. Really, really good question. I thought about it a lot, and I really wanted to give a unique, out-of-the-box answer. What kept coming to me was society's answer of a man is someone who provides. And to be honest, I really truly believe that. I really truly believe that a man is someone who provides. And I kind of, if you were to go back a year and a half, I really lived and breathed that concept. I was living in central London, and I had the job, and I had the car, and the house, and on paper I was providing everything I could want, financially, stability-wise, for my family. However, being really honest, my mental health was in the worst place that it has ever been in. I was fatter than I'd ever been. My physical health was awful. My relationship with my wife was almost non-existent. It was really in a bad place, and I barely saw my son. And so, do I think that is what defines a man? No. No. What I think defines a man is exactly the opposite, and it's the ability to just leave, to make a choice, to challenge some of life's biggest and most obvious things that are there. And I think that is, for me, what is a man: someone who questions, who asks the questions, and is not afraid to ask those difficult questions, and be true to themselves, and therefore able to really support and be there for the people that they love.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think, just to pick on that, do you think the word provider has changed? Do you think that definition for you has changed now?
Yeah, I do. I think that it is quite an old-fashioned stereotype that to provide is just to provide financially.
Yeah.
And I think that the word balance really comes into it for me, because I think, there are a lot of amazing partners and women out there who are also providing financially, and I think that's incredible. But I think that there is a lot more to providing than financial, and there's a lot more about stability, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot more. But when it comes to being emotionally available, for example, or physically present, these are big things that we as men are going back. It just wasn't expected. It wasn't expected from the man to do those things, or to have them, or to access them. And I think we still struggle. I still struggle. But I think it's really important. It's definitely changed.
For sure. We'll definitely get into it. So, Ash, perfect segue. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing in the space right now, and I guess how you got there?
Oh, how long do we have?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. So right now I am the founder of New Dad Life, which is a online community for dads. I really want it to be a space where dads support other dads. I think that in the world of parenting and in the world of fatherhood, there is not really anything good there. When my wife was pregnant and I found out I'm going to be a dad, instantly I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? I have no idea. And it came to a point a few months in where my wife gave me a bit of a kick, and she was like, I'm growing a human. You need to step up. You need to do some research. You need to find out what's going on. So I took to the internet and I bought all the books, and I just couldn't really find that place. The only place that I found good information was TikTok, and it was all aimed at women. And that really annoyed me. It still annoys me today. So this is why I'm starting this community. It's Community for Dads, New Dad Life, where the aim is that dads will support dads. I feel like men do this in every other area of their lives apart from being a partner. If I wanted business information from other men, I could get it like that. If I wanted fitness information from other men, I could just get it in a split second. But if I wanted parenting support or advice, where do I go? And that's kind of where I'm at with New Dad Life. And that's my work. Where I am physically right now, it's another big whole pot. I'm currently traveling the world with my wife and my 1.5-year-old. We're in Thailand. In the last 10 months, we've been to about 7 different countries. And we're really trying to challenge what like the way life is built. I personally really want to create way more balance in life. I don't want it to be all around work. I want to put a lot of focus in myself and in my family and in my relationship with my child. So that's kind of a short where I'm at now.
Awesome. Why do you think dads struggle to share those sort of conversations? Or is it more that they're not doing it online?
No, I don't think it is about online or offline. I think that the issue with dads trying to share is way bigger, and it's something with men that struggle to communicate with their problems and how they're feeling and issues in life. I think that the only place that it maybe works, but it's not necessarily healthy, is a few guys might get together at a pub with your mates and have a few drinks. Especially in the UK, that's how it works. But globally, do men feel comfortable to be able to share problems and speak about stuff? I don't think so. And I think that there's still this massive stigma that guys have, and I know I struggle with this as well, is that we think that if we share and if we talk about something, we might sound whiny or complainy, but deep down it feels like weakness, which is not necessarily a character that us as men like to feel. But I think what I've learned over the years, and I really have tried to challenge this, like my previous role was a mental health startup called JAAQ, and I was interacting with amazing people in the mental health space every day. And it's not just about them being mental health experts. They might be people that have lived with something, and therefore we're talking about their issues or things that they were struggling with in life. And I learned whilst there and just through life myself that actually every time that I've had that bravery, that courage to be able to speak up about something that I'm struggling with, which again, I still struggle to do, every time I've done it, I've realized that it's not weakness. I've been able to see it. I've been able to hold it. I've been able to work through it. And I come out at the other end much better and much stronger. And I think that that inherently is the same thing that loads of other guys are experiencing, and dads specifically. Like the world of dads are like second-class citizens when it comes to the world of parenting. And I think that makes it even harder for them to speak up.
So I talk a lot about life-changing issues or instances happening that are forcing boys in men's bodies to become men, and one of those is fatherhood. Do you think that that might have an element as well as to why you can't share those stories or share those advice, because you're so thrown into this role that it's forced you to accelerate and forced you to use a term, man up, that you daren't have those conversations with other men?
You're probably right. It is something that is probably triggering that, but I think it should be the opposite, right? First of all, there is a big issue that once you become a dad, even before the baby's born, you lower down on the ranking. I saw a TikTok that really annoyed me a few days ago. Some guy basically saying that the dad's like you as a dad, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings are irrelevant. It's wife, partner, child, you. And to be honest, your thoughts and feelings are irrelevant. And I couldn't disagree more. Like going to this concept of is stepping into the role of fatherhood something that should, how will it change the way it makes that you feel, makes you interact? Yeah, it will. Probably most guys do one of two things to them. It will cause them to freak out and either step up or man up, or distance themselves and hide at work, most likely, and really cling on to this concept that I spoke about at the beginning of the stereotypical provider, and justify to themselves that that's the way it is. But I think for me, the reality of it is there's not been more of a life-changing experience that I've been through, that's caused me to, I'm going to say man up, but in the positive sense of the word. It's caused me to question, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of dad do I want to be? What kind of man do I want to be in this world? And I've had to really ask myself the difficult questions. But I think that what it does for a lot of other people, which I'm dying to change, I'm really trying to help other men and dads realize that actually, like, owning yourself, being true to yourself, it sounds so generic, but like, is so powerful. Like, for me, that was the biggest key. Becoming a father and starting to ask myself those questions was actually something that enabled me to really change, and for the better. Yeah.
Do you think that people having children later on in their sort of adult life is the reason that we're having these conversations right now? We're having these questions. We're considering making these groups with men to really, like, almost not perfect, but trying to find the best way to be the dad and parent. Do you think that there's an element of that, of like, I have life experience, I want to shape my kid's future this way? Because you do see it both within women and men. There's a lot more conversation around how to raise said child.
Yeah, absolutely. And I being honest, I hadn't really understood it that much until recently. But I think it's one of the biggest things for me, anyway. The biggest things for me and my partner, that we were together 9 years before we decided to bring Leo into this world. And before that, we really made a point of trying to live life to the fullest, to the point that now I don't feel any regret that I didn't before. I'm loving now this era of being a dad, and I'm not reminiscing about when I used to X. And if there is anything about that, and we can talk about this in a second, like, I think it is possible to get it now, but there is definitely something about collecting all this life experience that you have before having a kid. But what I would say is that there are a lot of people who don't wait. And for whatever reasons, they rush into having a kid at a younger age, or they don't plan to have a kid and suddenly they have a kid. And I think that once you get over that initial shock as a man, and you realize that you're going to be a dad, whether you planned it or you didn't plan it, or you're younger or you're older, there is something so powerful when you choose to own that decision. Like, choosing to own that decision can be, it can make you, or it can break you. And I think that if you embrace it with all its difficulties, its quirks, and its excitement, like, it can be something really special.
Awesome. Let's talk about how you got into this mindset, because I think it's a bit of a journey as well, and an interesting one, because it touches on the mental health space as well. So how do you become this free and open guy? Where did it all sort of go wrong for you to rethink, shall we say?
Look, there's a lot of key things in my life that have brought me to that mindset. For one, my parents, their whole life, were entrepreneurs, lived necessarily like outside of London, outside of the community, and I guess took to a work approach quite differently. My sister's the same, my grandparents were the same, like, very entrepreneurial. So this concept of doing something that you want to do was always quite ingrained in me from a young age. Secondly, my partner is, she's a creative therapist. So she's basically like living in the world of psychology and helping people as a professional psychologist and therapist, but using tools of creativity and art. And she lives in that way, and it's so infectious. It causes me to be a better person, to think in a different way. And then you package those two life things together, and I ended up working in two roles. Like, one, I was part of a very, very early part of a men's makeup company called War Paint for Men. And I was working together with the founder, and our job was to brand men's, or sell men's makeup, like makeup for men, right? And we're not talking like men who already wear makeup. We're talking the average everyday man who probably thinks, makeup, I don't need that. We were trying to sell makeup to them. And that kind of really pushed me to think creatively about how do we do that. And what we found very quickly is a lot of customers were very much relating to our founder, Danny Gray's mental health story. We told his story and his struggle with body dysmorphia, and that was really infectious. Customers were basically saying, I don't necessarily want this product right now, but I really relate with your brand and your like your concept. And so that kind of got us thinking. And to fast forward, what ended up happening is Danny and I kind of slowly transitioned out of Warpaint and ended up building a new amazing startup that any listeners now can go to the website, JAAQ, .org, and they will find a really modern take on how to deal with your mental health. And the concept of JAAQ is, it's really hard to talk. And the first place that we go to is not talking, but we go to getting information. We'll go to Dr. Google, we'll type in, I'm struggling with X, and get an answer. Most likely, I'm going crazy, I've got cancer, I'm going to die, right? That's what we find out. So what happens on JAAQ is you ask yourself the same question, but we filmed a few hundred either leading doctors or people with lived experience, whether it be celebrities or other people who have really been through a life-changing experience. We ask them hundreds of questions. And when you ask your question, you get faced with a real person that's either studied it or lived through it, and you get a real live answer. And so building that brand, building those two brands really opened my world to this mindset that I've got today. It really opened my world with the concept of real self-development. It's become like a real buzzword, but the reality of it, what does real self-development mean? It's not like I'm going to go take a yoga course in Nepal. If that's what you want to do, great. It's not necessarily meditating every day or doing mindfulness. All of these are tools that are amazing and get real results. I think real self-care is to stop and ask yourself the questions and to just slowly make changes that are beneficial for you, and to ask yourself, what am I doing because I want to do it, and what am I doing because someone else wants me to do it? Society says that that's the way it should be. And so working in these two companies is really kind of what's and together with my wife and my parents, I guess, as I said before, what's kind of shaped this mindset. Yeah.
Men are typically hard to market to. How did you find trying to market makeup to non-wearing makeup men, and what was the quick learning curve that you got from that?
A good question. First of all, marketing makeup to men is really hard because on one hand, you've literally, like, on every ad, even still today, like, I'm not involved in the company anymore, but I read the comments on the ads, and you'll still get the same, like, comments like, oh, what's next? Tampons for men, that kind of thing. And then you get the other side, right, of the makeup, the minority of makeup wearing community or women that are also vicious, that say, what's wrong with ours? What's wrong with women's makeup? It's exactly the same product. And so to find that middle line where what you really need to do is try and take away the stigma so that men are able to be open-minded. And from when they're open-minded, then be able to show them, actually, by using this product, you are not, it doesn't make you instantly more feminine or whatever, like the stigmas are. Much the opposite. It gives you confidence. And that was the founder's story. And I think how we broke that bridge was by using using Danny's story, the founder's story, where he would say, I struggled with body dysmorphia. I used to steal my sister's makeup because I had spots, and then that would give me, doing that, no one would know that I'm wearing makeup, but it would give me confidence. And that is like, that's how I've survived through life. And so that's the narrative that we would go. And I think now working in brand development, when I will work creatively with helping a brand build and tell their story, I think that's the key, whether it's makeup for men or mental health, two very difficult things to kind of sell out there to the public, even if it's for free. Even if like that mental health information is for free, it's the same concept. How do we get people to engage? And it all comes down to finding that personal story, making, like, connecting emotionally, and like making it real, because that's it at the end of the day. There's not really much difference between selling makeup, selling bananas, or selling, like, getting people to access a mental health platform for free. It all comes down to, where's that real story? Where's the emotion? Where's the realness in it? Because we're sold nonsense to us every day. And how do we cut through that?
Yeah, for sure. You spoke about self-care and self-development and sort of like your definition of it. I would be really keen for you to come up with or suggest some sort of ideas that men who may not be in a creative or an entrepreneurial or a free-spirited approach to life, that have the 9 to 5 and are doing what they need to do, how they can start to incorporate some of this self-care into their day-to-day life.
Yeah. I think that I would say, first of all, let's just ignore this word self-care, right? Because it's so stigmatized and scary, right? But what is this concept that you're asking for? Like, how is it done? And it's a concept of, like, how do I stay true to myself and be the best version of me that I can be? And I think I ask myself that question quite a lot. How can I be the best version of me? And I think the first thing is to understand, what is impacting my life that is stopping me, or I'm listening to, that is causing me to not be the version of me that I'm comfortable with. And just to see it, like, I noticed that I was a different person at home than I was in the office. And whilst there were elements of me in both places that I loved, there was elements of my character in both of those places that I was really ashamed of. And when I noticed them, I was able to change them. Like at work, I would notice I would become more laddie and more rowdy, and I would try and have conversations, even like, look, I'm not a huge football fan, but I love sports. But I would have conversations about football just to feel included. Whereas actually, if I was open and honest and be able to say, look, I'm not interested in that, but I'm interested in this, anytime that I would do that, actively do that, I would feel way more comfortable in myself. And if someone wasn't interested in it, okay, that's their loss, right? And I think that concept of trying to be true to yourself is really key. But practical things, coming back to your question, practical things that people can do. I've broken it down for myself and for the New Dad Life community into 3 categories that I ask myself the questions on. And one is like mindset, like just sitting down or thinking about it in the car. Who do I want to be, and how can I be the best version of myself? Like literally just asking that question, I think goes a long way. Like even people listening to this podcast right now, an answer will pop into their head, and they might like it or they might not like it. But even just to stop for a second and look at it is really key. The second thing for me that comes back, like, and this is more related to being a parent, I think, but it's all about like the relationship with the people that I love the most. So I would ask myself, like, what kind of partner do I want to be? Am I being the best version of a husband that I can be? And actually, by asking those questions again, being a better husband made me feel better. Like it all came back to me, right? And the third one is the same about being a dad, like to my son, to Leo. How can I be the best dad that I can be? So that my first step of self-care, I did air quotes for those that are only just listening, is to ask questions. Find yourself blocks of big things in your life, and ask the questions. And to do a plug to anyone that is watching, I've built a challenge with these with these topics that they can find on New Dad Life. It like costs a few pounds. It's a 7-day dad playbook challenge that will take you through different steps and active tools that you can do to try and be the best version of yourself and the best dad that you can be. And it's all based on those 3 criteria. And it will take you through very easy, bite-sized, manageable tasks that you can physically do to impact and change those areas. I've got building in the pipeline. I'm working with an amazing parental therapist to build a 12-week live session challenge course that will really provide an amazing space for dads to talk through some of these things as well.
Awesome. It is all about asking those questions. I think if you look online, I think you touched on it a little bit earlier in the podcast, of this snapshot of life and what people are living, and you just want to almost emulate it. And these like, this is the morning routine, this is what you need to do. People want to be told, whereas the truth is you have to ask yourself.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm really happy you said that people want to be told, because I'm the same. It's exactly why I started New Dad Life. And the first place that I started with New Dad Life is to say, all right, you're probably not going to know where to start now. I'm going to tell you, having been there and done it, and I'm going to work with other dads to tell you. So I think that is really good, to be able to join challenges, join courses, do stuff where someone's going to take you by the hand, drag you, and really like get you moving from one place to the next place to be able to better yourself. I think that's really key. But to know why you're doing that is even more important, right? To get those roots. It's kind of like you wouldn't build a house before you knew you've got strong foundations. And I think people are scared to look at those foundations, to touch them, to ask those questions. And that, for me, is powerful.
Speaking of doing and finding your own sort of path in life and exploring and doing those things, as you mentioned, you're in Thailand. You've been to a few countries so far. Most people are going to be saying, what on earth made you decide to do that with a newborn baby?
It's a really good question. And I really want to caveat that there might be a lot of people thinking he can do that because he's really wealthy. And it's not necessarily the case, right? Everything was born from realizing that I want more from life, realizing that it's a cliche sentiment, but it's so true that we have one life and life is short. And like, I lost my best friend to cancer about 7 years ago now. I lost my dad just over a year ago, and my son was born 6 weeks before we lost my father. And those things for me really shook me to be able to understand that, like, it sounds really tough, but like, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. And generally, I've tried to live my life, and it's very morbid to say, like, if I was to die tomorrow, would I be proud of myself, and would I be happy with the life that I'm living? And I think that there was a real point when I was living in London, and my work life was incredible. Like, I'm really proud of everything I was doing there, but I couldn't stand by that sentiment. If I was to die tomorrow, would I be proud of what I'm doing? Because every other area of my life wasn't working. So the decision to kind of pack everything up, and we understood we just need to sell everything, right? We sold everything, and we set out on the road with no plan. It was the best decision that I ever made. And I realized that there are challenges wherever you go. There are difficulties wherever you go. I would much rather deal with those difficulties knowing that I'm 4 minutes away from one of the most idyllic, beautiful beaches in the world. And going to those beaches, I pick up my son from, this is no joke, I pick up my son from preschool, and we drive 4 minutes, and we go and hang out on a beach with golden sand and turquoise water and the sun setting. And I have to remind myself that I created this life, and I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful. And I could be stuck in an environment where I'm not happy with anything in my life, trying to figure out a way out. So making that decision, it was tough. It was probably the hardest decision I ever made in my entire life, but there was nothing that was more life-changing. And I know if this is not to work, if this is not going to work, okay, I can go back and figure it out there. But my mindset is not that this isn't going to work. Like, I realized that this lifestyle, not necessarily in Thailand, but the lifestyle of living to the fullest, grabbing life by the hands, life by design, creating the life that you want, is scary, but is the best thing that you can do. And look, we're out here in Thailand because it's cheaper, it's more affordable, and it's warmer, right? Sometimes too warm, but it's amazing. Anyone thinking about it, I would really, really, really recommend it. And I'll happily talk to anyone that's listening to this that wants to know how, what we did, when. Like, come to New Dad Life and you can actually book in a 30-minute free consultation with me, with pleasure, with real pleasure. Like, I'm a big fan of not, if you haven't realized already, I'm not gatekeeping anything, right? I want to help other people also live life to the fullest. So
this is something that I've not really spoken about with many other people, but I think about death a lot. I have had suicidal ideations in the past, and that's sort of part of the reason as to why I'm here today. But more recently, it has been just the thought of the end, and that sort of that question that maybe a lot of people have, is there something beyond, but also that looking over the shoulder. And I think touching on what you're saying, which is what was the point of the whole thing, and like what was your to use a cheesy word, I guess, your legacy, and that side of things. Do you think dads think about that more? Do you think men think about that, or am I just crazy?
first of all, you're definitely not crazy. Thank you so much for saying, like, if it's something you haven't spoken about much, I really appreciate you saying that. Look, I I'm able to like stand here and look you in the eyes and say I felt exactly the same, word for word, everything that you are saying. I've experienced suicidal ideation, even if it's not been that extreme at points. The thought of death is regular, even now in the life that I'm living. It still crops up, these intrusive thoughts, and I think that a lot of men listening, even just men, people in this world listening, will resonate. I think it's something that we think about a lot. And before I touch on, like, with dads, I think that it sounds cliche, but, and I've said it many times, but I think just hearing you be honest about that, it helps me so much, and I really hope that it helps others out there. And if you are someone that also thinks that way, I would really recommend just mention it to anyone, even someone on the bus or colleague. I don't know how, like, if you're riding the bus, but, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be shocked at the reaction that you will get from people. And worst case scenario, like, you're not going to get arrested and put into a mental hospital. That's not going to happen. Much the opposite. And there are a lot of amazing organizations out there as well that that can really help. Like, we worked with one at JAAQ called CALM, Campaign Against Living Miserably. Like, go check out that organization too, and check out JAAQ if you're someone who's listening that's struggling with this, because it's so common. It's so common, even if it's not extreme. It's so common. I think that your question was about, like, does it turn it up more with dads? Yeah, it really turns it up. And not only on top of that, like, you've now got the worry of what would happen to, like, it's really hard for me to say out loud, but, like, if something was to happen to my child or to my wife, like I before, it was like, okay, if something was, like, am I relevant? The thought would come, am I relevant? What's the point? Like, why am I doing all of this? And I would kind of get sometimes, and I think this is also very common, to this thought that, like, to be honest, if I was to leave, it wouldn't really leave much of an impact to the world. But now that I have a wife who I love and I know loves me, and a child who depends on me as his father, like, I know that if I was to leave this world, then it would really impact them. And I think that that's and the thought of something happening to them as well, it sits on me all the time. Like, I have really intrusive thoughts about it, and I think it's something I've never really had the opportunity to open up about yet. But, and again, part of the reason why I'm starting this community, but I would imagine it's something a lot of dads feel. Yeah, like it's definitely like this concept of death is definitely very present daily and very present the older I get. And I think we need to not be afraid to talk about it. Look, for me, losing my father 6 weeks after becoming a dad, really, it threw all of this up in the air, because suddenly, like, I was reflecting on my relationship with my dad, which, if I'm being honest, wasn't great. It wasn't like he wasn't a bad dad, but I don't know if he was the dad that I needed at many times in difficult moments of my life.
Yeah.
And processing his death at the same time as having a 6-week-old, and I'm asking myself these questions of, what do I want to be? Like, what kind of dad do I want to be? Is wild. It's really difficult.
Well, yeah, thanks for sharing. I guess on the other side of that coin is the legacy coin, and the meaning of life. Have you had much thought about that? Much conversation in community around that?
That's just a light question, just an everyday. What is the meaning of life?
Yeah, should be.
No, but yeah, legacy and meaning, again, it's huge, especially for men. When we talk about this concept of being the provider, that's the beginning. Legacy comes up often. For sure, I want to leave a legacy for my children. I want that to be more than money. I want that to be more than finances. And I think that in today's world, especially with the lifestyle that I have been brought up with, and I'm not saying we were brought up millionaires, but I'm very fortunate that I'm able to dream. I've been raised with this ability to dream and to believe that life can be better and better and better. And I think that there are more people, maybe not, there are a lot of people who are really struggling. I don't want to dismiss them. And I don't want to fantasize that, like, everyone can start a business and do. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to raise my child, obviously, to be financially stable is important, but I would much rather first that he's grounded in good values and beliefs that he got from me, that he learned from me, that allow him to live a life that is fulfilled, even if it's a simple life. I'd much rather that he believes that he needs to work his ass to the bone in a massive corporate environment until he retires, and then he can start using his money. I think that, for me, would be really, really difficult. Really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, God knows what the careers of the future will look like. I remember sitting in an assembly and them saying, "You, some of you may have a job that doesn't exist yet." I think podcaster was one of them.
Yes.
So
Right?
it'll be interesting to see for sure. One thing I always talk about for men in general is to be more selfish and to put yourself first and think about that. Now, I say that and I try and practice that, and this is a good thing when I say this. I feel you are living that, and one of the things that I always say is that by doing that, it will benefit other people. And as a dad and as a husband and as the leader of this community, can you sort of touch on those benefits from you becoming essentially selfish?
Yeah. And by the way, I 100% agree. And it's still something that I'm working on and I'm struggle with, right? So I think the hard part is when you look at it as selfish, even though those are the words that I would use as well, to be more selfish. It sounds negative, but the reality of it is like, we have to take care of, like, it's that old aeroplane mask analogy, right? That you've got to put your gas mask on first before you put it on the other one. And I know, for me, when I take time for myself, I'm way way more present. The impact is so clear. Like in London, when I was working at JAAQ, I would make sure that I'd have a group of guys, would go and play football once every Tuesday evening. And that was my like red line. It's not touched. We know it's in the calendar, and it's something that I do every week. Nowadays, it's even more different. Like the wife and I, we literally like, we will schedule the week each week, and we will discuss, do we have time for ourselves in there? Do we have time together? And do we have time with the little one? Like in amongst doing all the work and everything that we need to do. Now, we color code it, and work is always way more balanced than everything else. But the dream is to kind of get that much better. And I think no matter how small the action is that you take to be more selfish, to spend time for you, scheduling it, like communicating it. So like deciding on what it is, communicating it to your partner to say, look, I want to do X, whether it's go to the gym or read a book or sit with a friend, or I don't want to give all the options. There are a lot of them, but like whatever it is, to decide it, communicating it is huge, right? For two reasons. One, it will make it much easier to do. I feel like dad guilt is a real common thing that keeps coming up, and it starts with whenever you try to do something for yourself. So by actually communicating it out loud and saying to your missus, your partner, whatever, saying, I really want to X, and I'm going to do it this time every week. Like, can we make it work? Does that work for you? Like, communicating that is really key. Then having it scheduled in is another thing that is massive. But the third thing is, I use this technique a lot. By speaking it out loud, I commit myself to something that I might find scary anyway, right? Like I find I struggle a lot personally with social anxiety. I'm fine in my family environment, but if you were to go and drop me into a new group, or I had to choose to go to that new group, whether it's playing football or whatever, golf, like I will have this instant blocker, and I will tell myself in my head before I even get to the point of booking it in and vocalizing it, oh, I don't have time, I need to be there for my family, I need to provide. And I think that communicating it, vocalizing it, putting it out there, and I think at 9 times out of 10 you will see how supportive your partner is within that. Yeah. And I think that that's really key. I think a lot of men are really scared with the reaction of their partner. But if you're able to say, like, this is for me, I really need this, and it will enable me to come back present and like re-energized and revitalized, like that is huge. And then you can start doing that for your partner as well. So, yeah.
I think a lot of men have social anxiety. I think it comes from the fact that we make friends with a group of people at like 4, and then they're your friends forever. And a lot of men use the missus or the kids as an excuse to try new things and do new things. And well, that's what I'm here to encourage. I'm sure you're there to encourage it too, is to go to the football team. You all like football. You're already there. It's going to be fine.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that that's the hardest step. It's that step. I always say, like, the hardest part of running is putting on your shoes, and that's such a metaphor for everything that you want to do. Like the hardest part is taking the action to just go, but when you actually do it, it's huge.
Awesome. Ash, other than the New Dad Life community, what in the men's space are you enjoying seeing? What do you want to see more of?
I think my answer of what I want more of and what I'm enjoying seeing is the same. But first of all, I really want to encourage anyone that's struggling with anything to go check out JAAQ as well. JAAQ.org. It's an amazing resource that helps not just around mental health, but anything that might impact. So it might be alcoholism or like dyslexia, or there's a whole range of stuff there. Go check that out. But I'm really loving, whether it be through movies or through social media, seeing men represented in a way where that they are being true and honest and engaging with things that they are proud of, and connecting. It sounds really like very, very, but connecting with their emotions. When I see a guy that is like speaking from an emotional place, I'm jealous and I'm envious, and I want to learn more to do that. Like I had very emotionally disconnected and unaware parents, and to the point that I like extremely didn't know how to feel anything. Still to this day, I really struggle to feel anything, happy, sad, like the big ones. I'm just kind of coasting around the middle, but I'm learning, and so I really like to see other guys do that. There are some amazing guys on um, on social that are doing that really well, and I think it's represented in movies as well, like much better. So that's kind of my good and my bad. I know it's not like something specific, but yeah, I kind of want to finish with just saying to people, like, the more that you can just again ask yourself those questions and be true to yourself, the better. And as scary as it is, and believe me, it's scary for everyone, it's worth it. Yeah,
Awesome.
more
That
of
was a
that.
unique answer for sure. Not had that one before, so I enjoyed it. Ash, it's been an absolute pleasure. If people want to find out more, let them know where they can find you, and I'll leave the final thoughts with yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely check out if you're a dad, or if you're a mum and you have a partner who is a dad, then please go to newdadlife.com. You can get everything there. On socials, New Dad Life Official. It's really early days for New Dad Life, and I really would love it to be the place for dads to support other dads. And there'll be a lot more. The one thing that I need right now is members. It's a free community to join, and I would love to see you there. You can reach out to me through any of those platforms as well. And I'm not, there is no gatekeeper for me. You will be able to get directly to me, and I will respond to you personally. If you even want to speak on the phone or face to face, then we can do that as well. This is the space that I really want to do. I really passionately believe that I want to help dads to support other dads. And I think that there are a lot of men out there that could do with that help. So that is my final statement. And thank you so much for this. I've really enjoyed it. And I really hope the listeners got some benefit from it. Who knows?